G'day everyone. Welcome to the edition of DURKO's Notebook for the 2024 Japanese Grand Prix. Just spinning the arvos here, having a little snack of some sushi with cucumber and tuna. Anyway, got a shit ton of stuff I want to talk about, so pull up a pew, sit back, relax and enjoy the show. You wouldn't fucking read about it. So the F1 circuit has returned to Suzuka, and it's got to be one of the best F1 circuits on the calendar without doubt. It's tight, it's a figure of eight, there's hardly any straights in it, so the drivers are always steering into a corner, trying to find grip where they can and to not rip their tyres apart and destroy them. So, of course, interesting weekend of action. Sargent, of course, turned up with the Williams tub that was held together with a roll of 100-mile-an-hour tape and cable ties, and he did his best to try and destroy it again. But fortunately, it wasn't that damaged. He was able to get it fixed for at least FP3, because FP2 was just a washout due to the strategy that the teams have come up with, and they all agreed to it, along with the FIA, to get rid of a special Friday set of inters if they wanted them, or wets, in case it did piss down rain somewhere. So the teams have only, the drivers, the FIA, whoever, have only collectively got themselves to blame for not allowing that extra set of Friday tyres, and I think Pirelli have gone to them and said, do you really want to continue with this rule? Because it doesn't work, because there's no action in FP2, unless you want to go and scrub out a set of inters, because you've only got your allocated set for the weekend, of course. So that rule may change come through mid-season or within the next couple of races at least. There was, of course, was another unsafe release with George Russell. I don't know how they get away with it, why nothing gets done about it. There's no penalties. They just say, oh, no, don't worry about it, it's all good, it's all good. Nobody's hurt, nobody's damaged any cars. We're just going to forget about it. It's pathetic. The one thing I want to talk about, obviously, is Dan Ricciardo, because Iwasa, the Japanese F2 driver, sat in for him during FP1, of course, and I've got to give him the bloke credit. He did a great job. Sure, he brought the car home in 16th for the session, but he didn't bin it, and he had some good, clean session going through that and displayed what he could potentially do if he was to ever land an F1 seat. So you give credit to him. So Ricciardo had less time in the car, of course, and I will discuss Dan Ricciardo at the end of this notebook, just where I think we could just close the whole chapter on the discussion of what's going on and is he under threat, whatever. We could just put a line in the sand with one simple thing. So we get to the race itself now. There was obviously the coming together at the second corner of Ricciardo and Albon. I say it's a racing incident. Maybe Albon shouldn't have been where he was, that close to the arse of Ricciardo's car, but then Ricciardo shouldn't have probably drifted over into Albon's path, pushing him onto the grass so that they tapped, and it was game over for them. It's hard to lay blame, but I've got to say, my opinion, it was a racing incident. Overall, midfield, sort of the front, after Max, of course, the rest of it through the midfield, there was heaps of great racing, especially coming to the 130R. And Checo Perez, he just displayed that when he just blitzed it up the inside of 130R, and it was just, that's not a corner you come out of. I mean, you come out of it on full throttle, coming up towards the S's at the end of the lap. But he just displayed some really mature driving, which I think he's maybe a switch has gone in his head. Shit, I'm driving to retain this seat for next year. I've got to just come out of somewhere and deliver. And I think he had an outstanding race. I mean, obviously he comes second, as he always does. But yeah, that when he came out of 130R, there was a couple of other drivers come out of 130R as well, which was, when, of course, George Russell, he went into the S's with Piastri and just did a kamikaze move. Just a dickhead move from George. I don't know. He gets to the last 5 laps of any race and he just brain switches off and he goes, oh, yeah, I'm out of here. I'm just going to drive with blinkers on. I don't give a shit. So, a dickhead move from George going and almost taking Piastri out. Of course, there was another unsafe release with Stroll. And again, no penalty. This is just, they've got to stop this shit. They've got to start dishing out penalties, I reckon, for all these unsafe releases. And I mean, again, Lance, he got on the bloody blower and whinged and pissed and moaned about his car setup and whatever. He's the one who chose that setup of the car, and the team did it to his request. So he's only himself to blame, and I think we've got to get to the stage. Well, Mike Crack's got to sit down with Lawrence and say, mate, we've got to spear your son. We've got to put Felipe in it for at least one race and see what he can do, because Lance is just getting his ass handed to him on a platter by Vettel as a previous world champion, and now Alonso's doing it, and it's just making him look quite ordinary in wasting Dad's time, dragging that car around the world to go to various circuits. So, I don't know. Yeah, I think they're going to, at least for one race, just put Felipe in and say, right, go and do your best. We want to see what you can do without Lance in the car. So, the one thing I obviously want to talk about is Ricciardo. So, that's the hot topic. There's a lot of discussion about Ricciardo. There was talk after Australia that he had Japan and China to prove himself. Obviously, the Japan weekend's been a write-off because Iwasa was in the car for FP1. FP2 didn't even turn a wheel. FP3, he had one session to set the car up, dial it in, do what he had to do. Then we get to lap 2 of the race, he's out for whatever circumstances. So, I think if you go back to, there was that classic test where they put Dan Rick in an RB car around Silverstone, and he would have matched Max and been on the front row with him. Okay, so is it the car or is it the driver? Liam Lawson's in the gun for the seat, so Tsunoda, Ricciardo, whatever. So I know this is completely hypothetical, but I'm just going to say this. If they want to settle the argument, you get a V-Carb 01, you go to Mugello, same profile tyres, same setup, compound, whatever you want to call it. You get Max to do a lap, install lap, one hot lap. You get Ricciardo to do a lap. You get Liam Lawson to do a lap. And you get Tsunoda to do a lap. Because Tsunoda keeps coming home with results in that V-Carb 01 as it is. And Ricciardo can't keep up with him. So whether Dan's not suited to the car, he can't dial the car in, for whatever reason, there's just something wrong with the equation that we can't get an answer. So I think potentially if Dan's going to get speared after China, maybe they should before Miami. This is just, as I said, completely hypothetical. Go to Mugello for a day and say, right, let's have a shootout. Max is going to set his time. Liam have a go, Dan have a go, Yuki have a go, and we'll compare oranges and apples and see what happens. I think it's the only way it's going to be settled, because otherwise Dan Rick's just going to have to be outed. As we saw, Liam's there ready to go, and he's chomping at the bit to get back in that seat and to prove what he did. And he had the chance last year, and he certainly delivered. I'm not anti-Dan. I'm just saying that maybe the time has come. The writing's on the wall. It might be time to step aside, even for a couple of races to get your head together, whatever. That's what I want to say on that. So, yeah. Williams don't have a spare tub till they get to Miami, so they're going to be careful in China again, see what they're going to do. But other than that, I've got to say that the Japanese Grand Prix last weekend was an unreal race. It's one of the best circuits. They can never take it off the calendar. They've got to keep it forever. It's too good to potentially lose, because the racing at Suzuka is just always outstanding. Love it. Love watching it. And eventually I will get there one day and watch it myself live. So that's it. That's all my thoughts on Dan Ricciardo and what happened on the weekend. Love the Japanese Grand Prix, and I'm quietly looking forward to China coming back in 2 weeks. We haven't been there for a few years, and some of the drivers have never been there, so it'll be interesting to see what happens when we turn up to a fresh circuit for some of the junior drivers and what they can potentially do in their cars around the Shanghai International Circuit. So that's it for this edition of DURKO's Notebook. I thank you for watching, and I shall chat to you in a couple of weeks' time. Until then, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.